Faiz Imran, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to have a cool conversation with the audience and yourself.
So, could you start off by giving the audience a quick background of who you are and your work?
Yeah, so my name is Faiz Imran. I'm a serial founder and entrepreneur. I've built a lot of companies in the media, marketing, and creator space. And I'm currently building a company called PeerBase for entrepreneurs, executives, and creatives to hold them accountable and boost their performance by leveraging peer groups, peer support, with meaning people that are of the similar stage as you in a similar industry, doing the same type of thing. In addition to professional facilitation, we combine those two, and every week we do a call for an hour, talk about what's working, what's not working, set goals together, hold each other accountable, and we follow that up with accountability text messages throughout the week to really just push you to be your best self and to give you that sounding board of people that get it to be around you. But we can dive into the story and the different things I've built later, but that's the general overview. Serial founder. I've had 4 exits and have been in the media marketing and creator space.
So, walk me through what initially got you started on this journey. You're a high school student in Atlanta. What got you initially interested in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I feel like I always had that little knack, even when I was in like elementary or middle school, selling little things, candies. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have that kind of in similar. Like they're always hustling, trying to find an opportunity. So it started off there. I really kind of saw a big opportunity when fidget spinners came out. I think I was either in middle school or just entering high school, and was selling fidget spinners. And then we got into pop sockets, and we got into all these other little things that we'd sell. And then we started getting other people involved. We started like lending them out to other people in different schools. And that kind of grew from there. That really gave me the itch to like, okay, now we're making real money. Like, let's take this to the next level. And then I kind of started delving in the world of startups. And that's when I started Evercent. It was a Kickstarter project. I 3D printed it and made it. Started actually trying to make it like a legit business, filed for like an LLC, some type of structure. Actually got patents on the product, which actually helped me sell the IP and the patent and such. And that was my first, like, I would say, exit.
So, Everson was your first business?
First business that I sold. And first actual, like, structured business, yeah, aside from a hustle, like, just selling things.
So, what do you think Everson taught you about the basics of business?
That all the little small things don't matter as much as you think. Like, the only thing that mattered into that even being somewhat of a success was I had a website and social media, and I had a product that solved some type of problem, and the messaging and the copy was in line with the people that had the problem. Like, that's all that mattered. Like, all the little nitty gritty things that people get kind of caught up into, that I have to do this before I set my business up. None of that matters. There's a problem. I solved it. I didn't even build it. I didn't even like go to production or get molds or get investors. I just put it on a Kickstarter. I made a video and put it on a Kickstarter, and we generated interest with that. And it failed 4 times, by the way. Tried to launch it 4 times, just complete flop. The 4th time, I woke up the next morning, a couple $1,000 in sales, and I was like, "Oh, we got something here." And eventually, I got an email from a firm saying, "Hey, we want to acquire." And we started having conversations with them. And keep in mind, I had no idea how I was going to fulfill. Like, I had no idea how I was going to deliver these orders. That's kind of why I chose Kickstarter. Wanted to get the idea out there, see if there's demand for it, and then Kickstarter people are lenient. Like, we told people it's going to be like a year. We have to figure out how to make them, but they were supporting the vision. And with that, when somebody came to acquire it, I'm like, oh, cool, easy peasy. Kickstarter canceled. The patents and the IP and all that stuff got sold. They bought the stuff, and then I was kind of like, now what? And that's when I started my agency.
Is that when you first had the idea to start an agency? Talk me through like that whole process of when you went through your exit.
Yeah.
What popped up in your mind when you decided to start your agency?
So it was a very small exit, man. Very small, But to me at that time, I think I was like 15, like really young. So it was like a lot of money. It was the most money I've ever seen. And I was excited. And when I was looking into, I have to do something else now, and I'm bored. I have too much time. The reason agency appealed to me so much, because I looked at everything. There's a whole bunch of like, drop shipping was really hot back then. Trading has always been hot. There's all these other things that were like fast money, I guess. But the reason the agency appealed to me, it was a service-based business. I didn't need to buy any inventory. I didn't need to do anything. Really didn't even need to learn anything. All I had to do was sell And once I sold it, I had to figure out how to do whatever the hell I just sold. That was it. And I was like, cool, I built a website for Eversend. I built another couple websites for myself, like a personal site. I could do that. So me and a couple friends of mine, we spent like the next 6 months door knocking and cold calling everybody. Like I would go to my friend's house, not to hang out. I'm like, bro, let's get the phones. Let's get Phone Burner. Like that's the software we used. And let's just call people. And I got lists and we kept calling. Hey, hang up, hang up, hang up. People are hanging up on us. Hey, this is the marketing guys. Hey, we're your marketing guys. Hey, this is Fizma. We were experimenting with the name. What did we have to say to make people stay on the phone for at least 10 seconds? And eventually it was like, hey, do you manage the website? When you go in with the question, it's so like they're not scared. Like their defenses are off. You're asking them a question. And a lot of people do this when they go to like solar roofing sales as well, like door to door. You start with the question, and if it's not a like invading a personal question, like they think you're trying to help. So I'm like, hey, do you have access to the website? Do you manage the website? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, actually, the copyright on the bottom is out of date, and your security certificate is off. So like when I try to go to your website, it's not loading. They're like, oh, that's weird. And it really wasn't. You know, if somebody doesn't have HTTPS and they don't have the S on there, it's a simple thing that takes like 30 seconds to install with a lot of website providers. But if you don't have that on there, you get that the site's not safe message. And I know like you guys have seen that at least once. So I'd call those people and they'd be like, oh, what? I'm like, actually, it's all right. Like, if you guys are looking to fix it, we can fix it for you for free. And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, we're an agency, we're a local business, happy to help out. It'll take me a couple minutes. And they're like, sure. I mean, a lot of people said no, but one or two people said sure. And I was like, okay, we fixed it for them. And then guess what? Their website's trash. I'm like, well, hey, we fixed it. It's live, but do you want to, by any chance, chat about like improving the site? I'm sure you can get more customers. The way we fixed this, we are able to revamp websites completely. Here's our portfolio. And they said, yeah. Like, so we landed our first customer through cold calling, similar method. It's a $5,000 check and a website. First website. I'm so young. We were celebrating. I still have a picture of me like jumping up and down with the check. But now we had another problem. I don't know how to provide or fulfill any of the services. Like they wanted an e-commerce website. I've never built that before. So we get on Upwork and we're trying to figure it out. Like we're like, okay, we gotta hire, we gotta interview, and made a lot of mistakes, man. A lot of mistakes. And eventually the website got finished. Took longer than expected, but it got finished. And then they were like, we want ads. He told me you can also help with that. I'm like, fuck. I don't know if what am I supposed to do now? We tried to figure that out. And it just was an ongoing like figuring it out. But that was the first client, right? It took us 6 months or about 6 months to get. Second client, now we knew what we had to say, and more than anything, we knew it was possible. So we just kept repeating, rinse and repeat. 4 years into it, and then we had 120 people on our team. We had worked with McDonald's, Avid, Reebok, Topgolf, some franchises, some bigger people, some we did like partner deals with other agencies, and we had worked with some amazing companies, and actually going to be one of the top rated marketing companies in Atlanta. And then that's when I kind of approached an exit there. I was insanely burnt out. The processes were in place. The team ran well without me. We had clients that we offered a couple specific services to, but didn't offer other services to. Like we offered web development and social media influencer work. We didn't do ads. We always give that to a referral agency. When it came down to selling, it was a pretty straightforward path. Here's a list of customers that are having ongoing services with us, but they don't have ads, and they're currently going to someone else for ads. So we got acquired by an ad agency eventually. But yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. A lot of people often say that their first client is their most important one. And would you agree with that? Because you said you went six.
It was a learning lesson. Like, I think like very much so. Without that first client, without us having to figure things out, it was very important. Like, there's no way you can be as prepared as you can once you get that first client. You're more prepared than anything else. There's no pre-prep that you can do to prepare you enough. You're going to always learn things as you're doing it. That's why a lot of people say, like, why are you planning so much? Why are you trying to get everything perfect? Just do it. Jump in and do it. And then you're going to learn as you go.
Yeah, and you said 6 months was how long it took you to get that. So that's a long time.
Door knocking, cold calling. Like, I feel like we had a couple small jobs that came in, like a couple $100, that just gave us some hope. But yeah, man, I had a lot of drive and motivation, and I had nothing to lose.
Exactly. So
Like,
like regardless of if you're not seeing results, you got nothing to lose. So you just
exactly.
keep going until you get the
Yeah,
result.
um, but I always think about that, like the amount of just tenacity, like not like I got kicked out of so many places. I had no money. Also, I mean, I was young and. I used all the money that I made from the exit to buy like equipment. We bought a laptop, we built a PC, we bought all this stuff in pre-prep for services that we thought we were gonna sell because we were excited, and then T-shirts and checkbooks and like all this such irrelevant stuff. It was fun, but we used all that money there. So then I'm like, I have no money. I'm getting kicked out of coffee shops because I'm trying to sit in there and use free Wi-Fi, and I don't have money to buy a coffee. So yeah, it was very much of a learning lesson, and it's always humbling to like look back and think, yo, that's where I came from. So if I were having a bad day, I'm like, that's where we started. So it doesn't matter how bad it gets, like I will always have more knowledge, more experiences. I will always like have learned from that. Everything's a learning experience.
Where did you go from there?
From there, so we built that company, we exited, and then side by side, me exiting FISMA, that was the name of the agency. We started. I co-founded Business Blurb with two co-founders, and Business Blurbs grew to be one of the fastest growing Gen Z media companies of 2020. We got 1 billion views in about 3 months. Insane, wow. Absolutely insane.
How did you get introduced to that opportunity?
Actually, it was through a podcast. I did a podcast with who eventually became my co-founder, and he introduced me to the other person, Devin Carolee, and there's Brendan Cox, and it was myself. And we had a couple of different ideas, and we hashed it out. And I was like, and eventually we all agreed on like, let's start a news company. Like, let's take news from traditional mediums and let's put them where Gen Z is going to see them. Let's repost them. Let's do posts on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. Like, distribute news, speak a language that Gen Z understands and relates to, and let's leverage content creators that Gen Z trusts. And that's exactly what we did. And I put the site together, the original Business Blurb site, which isn't live anymore, but like 8-9 hours. And I remember having the first post, and we were super excited. And then it was off to the races to figure out how can we promote and brand this thing. And now Business Blurb has millions of followers across different platforms. And I'm sure I've stepped away since then, but I'm sure they're doing hundreds of millions of views a week, if not more.
So one thing I really admire about you is that you're always looking for the next thing or the next big way to make an impact as an entrepreneur through your companies. Talk to me about what you did after that. Was that Backspace after Business Blurb?
After Business Blurb, I was so burnt out, man. I had felt like I spent and I get it, I'm still young, but I had felt like I spent the years where I could do whatever I wanted, could have just hung out, could have gone out, could have partied, could have literally done absolutely nothing except for schoolwork, and there would be no consequence. You don't get that again in life. You really don't. And so some part of me was like, damn. Like, while all my friends are going out, they're having fun, they're meeting people, like they're dating, I'm sitting here and I've been working. And I felt so empty, I felt so sad, I felt so alone. I don't really have any friends because I stopped talking to everybody to go grind mode. And so I was super sad. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move. I'm going to move to a new city and restart and explore, meet new people, and find people that like are of the same level, like that get it. Like, I don't want to be in an environment where I grew up because people see me as a certain way. Like, I want to go to a new environment where I can meet people that are like me. So I got up and I moved to LA. Lasted a couple weeks. It was not for me. Then got back up, came back to Atlanta. Then I sat in Atlanta. Then I got back up and I went and moved to Austin. And I lived in Austin for a little bit. And when I went to Austin, I went to go visit at first, and just amazing. Like, I went to go visit this house for the guy who eventually became my roommate, and he had the most amazing collection of people there. Like, people that are like YC. Y Combinator is a very big accelerator, one of the most top, like, Y Combinator is a very prestigious accelerator for entrepreneurs. A lot of those guys were Y Combinator founders, and I'm like, what? Another guy in the room, his company became $1 billion company, a unicorn. Like, there's all these amazing people. They're not talking about a couple 100,000, a couple million. They're talking about hundreds of million and billions of dollars, and they're all relatively young. And I'm like, this excites me. I could not sleep that night. I got back up. I wanted to meet everybody again. I got all these people's information. And I was only there for a couple days. When I was coming back home from the trip, I was so sad. I'm like, I feel like some part of me is getting ripped away. Like, I want to be here forever. And that's when I knew I had to move. So as soon as I landed, I put everything I owned up for sale, and I headed to Austin. Like, a couple days back, I was there. I was living in that house. I had a couple cool roommates. And I had no idea on what I wanted to build, who I was, and what I wanted to do, what my next chapter looked like, but I was just down for it. I knew one thing. If I was around the right people and quality people that I could learn from, where I felt like I was the dumbest person in the room, I will in some way or form win. And that's what I did, and don't regret it at all. I learned everything about the startup world. Startup is very different than business, like as in like an agency or service business, traditional business, brick and mortar. It's very different than a startup. A startup, you have a goal or sometimes a lofty goal or idea on how you want to do something or change something that a lot of times hasn't been done before. It's not like a gas station, a smoke shop, an agency where it's like, here's what you have to do to have a successful agency. There's a roadmap. These are services people offer. This is what they normally charge. You have to do it faster, better. Maybe you can be more expensive and you're more higher quality. You have those as your edges. When it comes to a startup, I got a crazy idea. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And a lot of times, because it's a crazy idea, and sometimes it doesn't make money right off the bat, you need to raise money, complete different game. So I learned a lot about that game. I learned a lot about how to fundraise. I've watched people raise millions in front of me while doing phone calls in the same room. And I experimented with a variety of ideas. I started this thing called Give Award. Crazy idea. Didn't work out at all. It's complete flop. And then I started a couple other little projects. This is around the NFT boom. And my friends are like, Faiz, do an NFT project, do an NFT project. And those friends actually had a really successful NFT project. So I wasn't into that. And then what I really wanted to do was a social media startup. Just for the reason that I was in FISMA, I worked with influencers. I was in Business Blurb, I worked with influencers, did media. Like, it's just like, I've worked with so many creators. I'm like, I feel like I can really make a change in the social media space because I understand it. I understand the people in it. And everyone was like, that's crazy. It's not going to work. Like, a lot of people. There was one guy in Austin who was like, Faiz, I think it's a great idea. If you think you can do it, you should do it. And that's all I needed. Like, to convince myself I wasn't, like, batshit crazy. So I started it. My original idea was I want to make a creator platform where people can monetize, similar to, like, OnlyFans, but I want to make it safe for work. I want to make it, like, anyone over 13 can be on there and actually just interact. It's not, like, only paywalling, like, not safe for work content or adult content. I wanted to be paywalling a community or paywalling access to a certain video or podcast. There wasn't anything out there, like, that did that well. Yeah, you could put Discord bots together. You still got to be tech savvy. My mom can't get on Discord and go through a paid server. It's confusing. I couldn't do it. It was hard. Or Slack or... So, you know, we launched and changed the name a million times. We pivoted a million times. And then I tried to go start raising money. Raising money. Now, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Because while I had exits, I'm young. I haven't built a company that was venture backed or that had outside money. I haven't built a company in a software space. There's a lot of things against me. So then again, I spent months trying to raise money. No one gave me a single dollar. And I was like so close to giving up. But I was like, this will work. I need someone to just take a leap of faith on me. And I'm putting all the money that I have. I'm funneling my money to hire developers to keep it going. And it was just hard. And eventually one guy, he told me, my first investor, he's like, I've never seen anyone go months and months, take no's back to back, and literally not lose a percent of enthusiasm. Like, I believe you're going to make something work, even if it's not this. I'm taking a leap of faith on you. I think he gave me a $10,000 or $15,000 check. I leveraged that momentum, got another check the next day, got another check. And we ended up raising a couple $100,000 within that year period. And we used that money. We built an amazing team. We launched multiple versions of the product. We had an award-winning product hunt launch. We got nominated for Product of the Year on Product Hunt. We got so many users signed up on our wait list. We got over 10 large creators with millions of followers that were signed to exclusively do their communities with us. And we were growing. We were excited. We started making revenue. We had people using the platform every single day. And then I went to go raise my next round to really push that progress, to build a bigger team to start competing. Because people like Circle were popping up, School, like all these other little platforms were popping up. And they were still early, so I wanted to compete. So went to go raise our seed round. And when we went to raise our seed round, one of the firms that we were talking to actually mentioned the idea of acquiring us. Because they wanted to build the same company, that they wanted to put different people in place. And we totally entertained the conversation. While we kept building, it made more sense for us to get acquired. We went for the acquisition, we got acquired. So that was really exciting. And around that time, then again, I was burnt out. Like, I go really hard. I go all in when I go all in on something. and it becomes like a part of me. So when I sell it or I give away, I'm like, damn, like what am I supposed to do with my life now? And while I was building Backspace, there was a friend of mine who was an investor actually in Backspace, and he's also a coach, and I was working with him one on one. But he's very expensive. Like if you're not like one of his cut friends, or if he's not an investor, and you know he's $1,500 an hour, and I get access to him for free. But then as I was selling, started putting together little groups of people, like me, two, three other people in similar spaces, similar levels, similar like stages in life, relationship, family, whatever, that get it, and we would meet every single week and push each other up and hold each other accountable. And that gave me such a sense of like feeling good about things as I was building it, because I didn't feel like, hey, I can't talk to my team because they might lose like faith if they hear that, hey, we're going through some battles right now trying to figure it out. They want to hear that their leader, the person that they're trusting to represent the company, is in a strong place. I can't talk to my family about it. They don't really understand. Can't really talk to like a lot of my friends because they're in different businesses or they have jobs. But I could talk to people at masterminds, but they reoccur like once or twice or sometimes 4 times a year. It's not enough. I want a sounding board, people that I can bounce things off of. Like I had in Austin when I was living in that house full of entrepreneurs. We had a whiteboard. We'd bounce things off of each other. So I got to put that together for myself, not thinking anything of it. But the stats were amazing. Like people were loving it. So we charged people to be a part of it, so there would be accountability, so you actually show up. We charged $500 a month, and we experimented with pricing a little bit, but eventually that worked. Month 1, people stayed on. Month 2, people stayed on. They wanted to get their friends on. And then like eventually this test went on for like 7-8 months, and I was like, we have something here. So I officially made it into something like I put a name on it. We called it Vibely at first, but now it's actually called Peer-Base, PEER base. And 90% of our customers stay for over 9 months. Like that speaks volumes to how much it helps. So like this company purely came out of something that I needed for myself. And then when I tested it with other people, they loved it too. So I built this company very differently. I didn't start with a vision or an idea. It came out of pure necessity for myself. And then I built the product around what the people who were using it needed. And I think that's the way to do it. Like my whole philosophy on starting a business has changed. This company has made money from zero faster than any of my other companies because we started off with, what do you as a customer need? And we built everything around it. We didn't spend months or hundreds of thousands of dollars on product development. I used Airtable and Zapier. Like we hacked it together. So it's been a very different experience, but that's kind of how we got to where we're at now.
And would you say that's the main thing when it comes to starting a business? Find a problem, find a solution, and that's where like how well you deliver, how big the problem is, and how well you deliver the solution to the problem is how much value you have. And with Peerbase, there was a problem, there was a solution, and that's why maybe it was that successful.
I think people get like tied up in the idea of finding a problem. I don't agree in going and finding a problem, because when you go out and find a problem, you can make anything a problem. I think you come across problems that are big enough problems where you'd spend money or you do something to change it. And for me, not having a sounding board or a support system, especially after COVID, where it's changed things up and people are remote, things like that, I didn't go and find a problem. That kind of was a problem that already existed, and I wanted to solve it for myself, and I made that into a business. Because I remember when I was younger, I would literally go look and think, what problems do I have? What would be a good business? And I feel like a lot of times people invent fake problems or pretend the problems that they have are bigger than they actually are because they want to convince themselves they can make a business out of it.
Talk to me more about the move in Austin. A lot of times people find it, I mean, you said that it helped you a lot in terms of clarity and where you wanted to go from there, in terms of learning more about business. And there's always a saying, you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So it's very important to surround yourself with people like that. And you obviously agree that it was very important in your journey. But how did you find that whole group and those entrepreneurs that were in the house?
Some things are pure luck. Like some things are pure, just like the universe putting things in place that are yours. Like honestly, there is no way that I could have known that those guys, everybody in the house, actually invested in my company. I could have never known that. I could have never known I'd become amazing friends with them. Some things come down to a gut feeling and an instinct. And honestly, every time I've had that gut feeling, I've been right. Like sometimes something's coming and you just know it's going to be amazing in some way or form. I feel like some part of you manifests that into reality as well. Like the sequence of events that had to happen before I met the people that I met and ended up moving to Austin was just insane. And like, I feel like you just follow. Like, if life's giving you something, just go with it. Even if you don't know what's gonna come out of it, go in there with an open mind. And that's exactly what I did. And something amazing came out of it. I've done a whole bunch of things where nothing came out of it. I've done a whole bunch of events and I've been to a whole bunch of things where nothing came out of it. But I had some type of feeling that told me I need to be in Austin, and I didn't question it. I just went.
Does it ever get overwhelming to have the amount of startups or the businesses that you have?
Yeah, but see, I keep my focus on one core thing at most times. I'm not splitting focus with multiple startups. I've tried that. It's difficult. I think it's Jack Dorsey, the guy who was the founder of Twitter. He has like an incredible strategy because he was managing Square and Twitter at one point. Maybe he still is. I don't know. I think Elon changed everything up, but he was managing both, and he had a schedule where he'd work on one thing one day, work on one thing the other day. I tried all that because there was a crossover when I had Fizma and Business Blur. Very difficult. I want to be thinking about one thing when I go to sleep, one thing when I wake up, one thing while I'm going on my drive. Like, I want to eat, sleep, and live one thing so I can make it its best. I do find myself sometimes wanting to start little cool side projects because they're exciting, but I always end up refocusing back on this is the one thing I need to build. This is where I need to get it to the point where other people are taking care of things within that business, and then I'm only sorting out fires or big decisions. And at that point is when I look to start something new. But right now, my philosophy really is you pick one thing and you do that thing better than anyone else.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot, where a lot of times younger entrepreneurs see the more experienced entrepreneurs have multiple businesses, and a lot of times they are managing multiple things, but that's because they have a team around them. They've delegated so much.
They didn't start off like that.
Yeah, they started off with
Yeah,
one thing, focusing on that one
exactly.
thing and getting better at that one thing. And I think that's something that I've struggled with because when I started my first business and it started going slow, I diverted to a different business and then a different business. And I think Alex Hormozy has like a whole concept behind this where there's the four stages of a startup where you get the idea, then you go into it, then you realize how hard it is. So then you go into a different
Yeah.
idea and then you just repeat it again and again and again.
I think there's a balance though. Don't get me wrong. When you're young, I feel like that is the equivalent of trying different things. Like you go to college, you have one path sometimes. Then you change your major, you change your path because you're trying things. You're realizing what you like and what you don't like. There's nothing wrong with that. Same with people go out, they're dating, they try things. They don't know you don't know what you want or what you like until you've tried, kind of, sort of. Same with business, same with jobs, same with a lot of different things. With that being said, if you start a business and you're young, you're under 20 or even under 22, 23, there's nothing wrong with starting an agency, exploring it, and then trying something else, and then trying something else, and then trying something. Nothing wrong. You're learning different things throughout all of it. But yes, if you keep doing that, of course nothing will work. Nothing will come easier. Don't try something else because it's the easy way out. Try something else if you don't find any alignment with it. No problem with that. But what will eventually work is the one thing you stick with relentlessly. And of course, you should see some progress. If you see no progress and you're just doing the same thing over and over, that's the definition of like crazy. Like doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
You're doing the wrong thing. You want to find something that's more better for you to do and then
You want to
stick to
find something
that.
you're seeing some progress in while you're putting in effort. If you're doing the same thing over and over, seeing no progress, no effort, and you keep doing the same thing over and over, it's kind of weird. Like even when I was doing the cold calls and no one was becoming a customer, my pitch was getting better. People were staying on the phone a couple seconds longer. I saw progress. Small things like that show that you're heading in the right direction.
What's your take on college?
I think college is very important. Okay, so I didn't end up going to college, and the reason I didn't go is I had a business that was doing over 100,000 a month at the time. In addition to that, I didn't have time, so it was a balance. If I Because I had a scholarship as well, but it didn't. What I could not find was the time to put into school and take away from my business, and I had to weigh out the opportunity of which made more sense. The time, the business made more sense for me. With that being said, if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, go to college. If you're an entrepreneur now, you're not making like enough money just to provide for yourself. You don't have enough savings to like let you live off for like a year. Go to college. There's very few instances where I would say don't go to college. If you're running a business that's producing millions of dollars already, and you going to school will hurt that, don't go to college. You're learning more from the business. But a lot of the times, you can go to college, and worst come to worst, you can still drop out. But people don't realize how important it is of like getting into a high end or high level college. even when you're raising capital, VC money, all these things, it shows that you stand out and you have the ability to do things that most people can't. You're different. You're not like everybody else. You get in an Ivy League school, and you get in and you drop out, you're still a Harvard dropout. You're still a Stanford dropout.
Like all the big entrepreneurs.
Like Zuckerberg, all these things. They prove that they have the potential for greatness by getting accepted into something that so little people get accepted into. And then to walk away from that, like it's a different level of flex than just saying, I didn't go. It's like, could you even get in? Like, yeah, it's like, so I would say go to college more, and then that's one side of it. Another big thing about college is the people you're going to meet and the network you're going to meet, especially if you're going to a high-end college, are going to be also incredible individuals that were able to do things that most people couldn't.
It's probably one of the best ways to network.
Exactly. You go to Harvard, you go to Stanford, you go to it doesn't have to be one of those. I'm just using this as examples. You go to a nice school, the people that are in there are exceptionally smart. They might not be smart in business, but they're smart. They're going to be the sum of the people you're around. And you might meet your co-founder. You might meet somebody that becomes an amazing friend. You don't know who you're going to meet and what ideas it might lead you into. So unless you're super certain of what you're doing and you're learning by operating a business and you're learning experiences, real life experience, go to college. You don't know what it holds for you. If it's not for you, make that conscious decision after giving it a year or two.
So you've had a good amount of businesses in different, so you've started an agency, product-based businesses, software as a service. What do you think is the best business model, especially for younger entrepreneurs? Or is there a business model?
I've had so many more businesses fail than that have worked. Like there's so many that I left out. And of course, the story, we talk about highlights a lot of the times. There's no such thing. I feel like there's businesses that are easier in nature. Like, don't go set up a health tech company where you got to have like a million different certifications and all these things, and you need millions of dollars up front to pay for those FDA approval. Don't do something like that. What I usually suggest if you're trying to do something and trying to learn and build up a book of business and some cash and get yourself going is do a service-based business. It doesn't require anything up front in most cases. Whether that's lawn mowing, or it's a couple $100 up front, or like what I did, a website development business. Everybody's online. They need websites. Like, it requires what up front? Nothing. You can sell it and then, deliver the service. Drop shipping. Drop shipping still works. People you got to understand, there's a demand for a product. All drop shipping is people are buying it before you order it. Like, you can put together an amazing landing page and run it on TikTok Shop, and that still works too. It's not like what you do as your first thing. Ideally, try to do something where you don't have to put anything in up front, because realistically, you're learning a lot. You might realize it's not for you. You don't want to have all your money tied up in it. So an agency, or like an online store where you're drop shipping, not purchasing so much inventory, then testing products. And all these things you can kind of build into very legitimate, strong businesses after time. Dropshipping can grow into an actual brand where then you are buying inventory and you are making sure the quality is top tier. An agency, from cold calling and kind of getting people to outsourcing the delivery, you can eventually bring an in-house team. And there's all these other ways to legitimize it. But one thing that I would not do is go after fast, easy money, or things that where people are like, you make you a millionaire in a month. No, don't do none of that. And a lot of things that people fall into when it comes to that, they think if they go trading, Forex, crypto, they can make fast money. You can make a lot of money in these industries, but there's no such thing as fast and easy money. There's just not. You got to build, it's like a foundation. You build your knowledge, you learn, you make mistakes, you fail, you learn, you get back up. That's the only way you're going to make money. Some people might get lucky. They're able to do it faster. Some people might have good opportunities. They might have a better pathway. Some people might have it harder. But it comes down to the same principles. Like if I were to start from scratch, and every time I have started from scratch, each business gets to revenue and a higher valuation faster than the last. Because I am moving on to next businesses with what I have known, what I have learned from the last business. This business, I was able to raise over 6 figures in 3 days for the company. Last business took me months and months and months. It took me 3 days to raise over 6 figures of capital from outside investors for this company. I'm assuming next time it's going to be a little easier, right? It's like the things that I'm carrying over, the lessons learned, that's the big thing.
So even if you're failing the business, you don't make any money off of it. You learn so much that...
Not always. You have to make sure you're learning something. Some people, they'll fail a business and be like, the business was messed. No, try to understand where you messed up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, as
And then
long
you
as you're
figure out what you learn, and then you keep
exactly.
going and apply what you learn in the next business, and you'll do better.
I don't think there's such like a thing as really having a loss in business.
Yeah.
You're always learning. You're taking something away. The only way you lose is if you like don't take anything away and you just like are like beat yourself up about the fact that it didn't work. I like the philosophy fail fast. Find out what doesn't work so you can keep trying to figure out what does work. Yeah.
I think as far as like online business or just business in general these days goes, a lot of the problems that entrepreneurs have is because everyone, or I don't know if it really is, or if everyone just believes that everything is oversaturated. Like when you hear about dropshipping agency, because a lot of times the local business that you're reaching out to has already been reached out by so many other agencies that it's hard for you to create value at time. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Like, there's a lot of gas stations. There's a lot of grocery stores. There's a lot of stores on TikTok. Like, there's a lot of products on TikTok.
Do you think it's more about like even if it's oversaturated, it's about the amount of value that you're providing? If you're providing more value than the other agency,
I don't
then
think it's
you'll be able
necessarily
to.
value. I think it's perceived value. Like, okay, you go to a store, man, and you're trying to pick out a soda. There's like 1,000 options. At least like 50 options. Okay. Now it comes down to what you like, what flavor, but it really comes down to what catches your eye and what seems appealing. Yeah, you could say the soda aisle is saturated. The best example, Liquidette, the water. You don't think water's saturated? You don't think there's a lot of water brands? These dudes came in here with new packaging, made it look cool so you can actually drink water while you're out with your friends and at least look like you're drinking something else. You can go to a bar and drink water and not feel lame. It was complete packaging. It's water.
It's all branding.
It's all water. Like, yeah, I get it. It's a little different, but it's all branding. If somebody could stand out in the market of water, and they did this recently, dude, you can stand out in anything. An agency, forget the whole full service agency. I did that. We were a full service agency, but really we niched down on two things. You think agency space is saturated? Cool, maybe it is. But how many people do you think are in the business of taking, like Hormozy style, gym owners 10x their sales in this amount of time? Like, you give no-brainer offers to a very specific audience, and it's not going to be as saturated anymore. Like, you got to niche down. Like, the idea of an agency, yeah, there's a lot of them. But how many agencies, like I said, are working with only gym owners, and they're only trying to get them from anyone that's at 10,000, they'll get them to 100,000. And they'll do that in 3 months, and it costs blank. Like, that specific of an offer is not saturated.
So what Hormozy calls this is one product, one avatar, one channel. Sell one thing, sell it to one avatar. So you said $10,000 gym owners that are making $10,000 to $100,000, and then one channel. So cold calling, cold emailing. Stick to that. Stick to the 1-1-1 rule.
It gets not saturated really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets very niche very fast.
So what other advice would you give, or would you walk like a young entrepreneur wants to start a business? What would be the step-by-step approach that you would take? Like, what would be the first the idea pops up in your head?
Yeah, the first thing I would ask them is, what do you do? What like innate abilities do you have that gives you an edge over somebody else? Like, what makes you stand out? Like, for me, for example, I love talking to people. I love sales. I'm comfortable with talking to people. I'm comfortable with walking up to people and starting a conversation. That gives me an edge over everyone else that's shy or that's not, like insecure, or I don't like using that word, but like that is not comfortable with going up to people and just starting a conversation. So of course, if I want to start a business, I know I can do something really well on the sales side, or I can do something on that side. Another thing, I'm like really good when it comes to like, see, then again, like I was going to say was building this and that, but these are all learned skills on YouTube. So it really comes down to like your comfort level with certain things. Do you know that you have a knack or an edge on something that not everybody does? I would start there. And now with that, you need to assemble a team. Yes, if you go alone, you can go fast. If you go together, you can go far. You go far together. You go fast alone. So assemble a team that kind of takes care of your weaknesses. I've never been super, super technical. I don't know how to code. I more understand when it comes to talking to people, marketing, messaging, things of that nature, less of the technical product building side. I can lead that, but I can't do it myself. So whenever I have a co-founder, somebody on the technical side, they fill what I can't, and everything else we hire for. So really, yeah, understand where you have a knack or an edge on something, and just try things. Like straight up, I would say start an agency. like I would recommend it was my path. An agency allows you to explore other people's businesses and learn about their businesses without having to dive in and start that business. When I had my agency work with hundreds of clients, I got to see the inner workings of their business, and it kind of led me to where I wanted to go next.
So you said you're good at talking to people and being more extroverted, approaching people. Were you always good at that, or was that something that you had to work on over time?
And that's why I kind of paused as I was saying it. I don't think I was always good at it.
How did you get better at it?
The more you do it, I was always comfortable and like willing to talk to people in that sense, but not as much as I am now. Like now I'm a lot more because now I've been turned down by thousands of people. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Still standing. Like, and it gives me that like I've been turned down by thousands of people, but I've also been accepted or like have worked with or landed probably thousands of people as well. So it's just about you get comfortable the more you do it. You understand that it's not the end of the world, and you just kind of keep going.
So you said that you have a lot more failed businesses than you do that ones that succeeded, and failure. I mean, failure is part of life. So could you go a little bit more into like detail about what were times that you failed and how that helped you start the next thing, or
Yeah.
like the most important failures that led you to where you are today,
There was so many.
and what kept you
Yeah.
going? Like after you failed, what mindset frame did you have to
Like
keep going?
with that idea of like everything is a lesson. When I failed, it wasn't like that I failed. It was the idea of what I was doing exactly then wasn't working, and I pivoted. And it's a new concept. When I had my agency, at one point we became a real estate agent specific. Like we were targeting the real estate industry, and we were targeting real estate agents as clients, and we called it like I probably mentioned the name on another podcast, but I don't want to mention it again. But we called it something else, and complete flop. Like it was not our offer, and the market was not a good fit. But it showed me that offer and that market's not a good fit because they don't have the money to put in. And if they do put the money in, the investment, what it comes out is not as worth it. Like we learned all these things, and I started targeting different niches. So really, it wasn't like a failure; it was a learning lesson. It showed me what didn't work, so I could find what did work. Same with like. I had a couple other media companies that I started in different niches that weren't as strong niches or as hard revenue producing niches that helped me, those lessons helped me go into building Business Blurb and making it very strong. I started Backspace. We had 15 iterations of what we thought Backspace could be. 15 different iterations. That's, some people say you failed 15 times. Well, really, for us, it was like 15 things that didn't work, and then one did. Like, cool. If I have to find 50 things that don't work to find the one thing that works, and it makes us.
You do it every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
To continue on that point, if someone told you that you had to like get shot down 100 times and you're gonna make a couple $1,000,000, you do it. No brainer. Thing about businesses, you don't know how many times. It's like a little minefield, but there's that number eventually where it's gonna work. So you gotta just keep going.
Who are some of the names in the business world that you look up to the most?
I mean, there's a lot, and there's different reasons. But like, for example, Elon Musk. As I was building Backspace, like I really like used to watch and look up to him because there was a lot of points when he tried to build crazy shit, and everyone he looked up to completely lost faith in him, and like he would be so like sad. He'd be like everybody I look up to and I was excited to share this with tells me this is stupid, this is crazy, and this isn't gonna work. And I was building Backspace and I had the same experience. Everybody's like, Faiz, you're trying to make a social media company, bro. Like Instagram, have you heard of Instagram? Have you heard of Snapchat? They can eradicate you like this. I'm like, so it was just kind of hard, like, and I really look up to him when it came to that stuff. And there's a whole bunch of other figures like Hormozy, and there's a whole bunch of like a lot of new people as well. And I like to learn from their lessons, so I don't have to make those same mistakes. So if they've tried something and they're able to say that here's how it is, and I believe in the logic, it's easier for me to learn from their experiences and lessons versus try to do it all over again, fall down myself, and learn the hard way.
What was your family and your parents like? What did they think when you first started your business, and were they ever doubtful of what you were doing?
Look, I was young. I wasn't focusing on school. I was focusing on a business. I'd get in trouble a lot. They'd be like, listen, you need to focus on school. All this other stuff you're doing, it's not working. It doesn't matter. So then I made a bet with them. I said if I can make $100,000 before I graduate high school, and I don't have to go to college, and you guys let me do my thing. And I completed that before I went to high school. Like before I graduated high school, I hit that goal.
What year was that?
I think I was, what do you call it? Like 11th, 10th, 11th grade? Yeah. I ended up buying my my first supercar a month after, or a month or two after I graduated high school. So I was doing pretty well at that time, but that really motivated me, man. Like for them to be like, "Yo, give this up," because like obviously it's not working. Or if you're gonna make it work, make it work. Otherwise, focus on school, and then you can figure it out as you go. But don't waste your time. Don't waste these years. I think a lot of families just want what's best for them, and they've seen their path. But one thing, I believe everyone should respect their parents, right? But one thing you have to understand, someone's advice would only go as far as it's gotten them. Yes, they may have made some mistakes, and they might have some advice to get you a little farther than them. But I'm not going to listen to somebody, and this is, like I said, aside from parents, but in general, I'm not going to listen to somebody who's made $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 a year when I'm trying to figure out how to make $1 billion. Because they can show me how to get to that. They're not going to be able to show me how to get to $1 billion, because if they knew how, they do it themselves. All right. So when it came to my parents, they gave me advice for what they thought would protect me and be best for me based on their well-being. My parents have done well for themselves. My dad also owns a business, and he works very hard, and I respect him. But the level of business that I wanted to build was far greater than anyone ever in any of my families, any of my generations has built. So of course, I'm going to be, bringing in people as mentors and advisors that I look up to, that are in positions that I want to be in, because they can give me exact advice on how they got there. So I really looked to my mentors. I would seek them out for when it came to opinions on what they thought, because they were in a position that I wanted to be in.
Were your parents supportive when they started seeing more results? Like when you started your agency and stuff, were they more like, okay,
look,
you did the right thing?
They support me when they can, but then again, they're my parents. They want the best for me. Owning a business, especially having a startup, is very risky. So they do what they can. They give me their 2 cents, their opinions. I treat it with respect, and then I go from there. But yeah, it's like they support me. They want to see me doing well, of course. But sometimes things I do is a little bit out of their risk appetite, but it's within mine, and we all respect that.
Would you credit a lot of where you are today to some of the mentors that you worked with on your journey to where you are at?
Yeah, no, and also my parents and my family and the people around me as well. Like, you gotta understand, for something to play out the way it does, everything had to go the way it did. Something went different, I might have been way more successful, or maybe less successful. The way everything went down, the people I had around me and everything, it led me into becoming who I am. So yeah, I totally give a lot of credit to everyone around me and the mentors and the people I surrounded myself with, because without them, I don't know where I'd be. Like, yeah, maybe I'd be, like I said, maybe I'd be in a better position, or maybe I wouldn't. I have no clue. But I'm pretty happy with where I'm at now. I'm still aspiring to get so much more and impact and help more people. And with that, I keep aspiring to level up my circle, the people around me, and I actually participate in peer-based sessions myself, because that's where I find a group of people that are building amazing things, that become my advisory, my support, my mentors, my friends, through those peer groups every single week.
So specifically for mentors, how did you find the mentors that helped you the most in your businesses or just in general?
I met a lot of people, and not just mentors, but a lot of people where I did this, was it about a year period where I'd never grabbed lunch alone. I would be blasting out LinkedIn messages to people in the area and being like, hey, you want to grab lunch? And we sent it to 5 or 6 people. One would usually say yes, sometimes more than one, and we'd be like, let's do it tomorrow. We'd keep it open-ended, and some people would do today. I had hundreds of lunches that I had with people, which made me meet him, and he met.
When was that?
Him. When I was in high school.
Nice.
Like towards about to graduate, but yeah, it was really simple. I met clients side of it for my agency. I met people that I could help them. I met people that could help me. I met some people that were friends, some people that became employees. A whole bunch came out of that. So it was exciting. But through that, I met a lot of people. I put myself out there. I was looking, when you're looking for something, usually, you'll find a way to find it. So mentors usually come to me at the most random times. And it's usually people that are a couple levels ahead of me. And then I also mentor people myself. I feel like it's a cycle. Like, I have people around me that are way ahead of me, some people that are on the same place as me, and then some people that are not where I used to be, and kind of keep that circle going.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite books, or do you read a lot?
Okay, so I have such a hard time focusing on,
I do too.
Like, I have a crazy imagination. Like, I start reading and I'll fall asleep, or I start daydreaming. So usually a lot of my content I consume is going to be in video format, podcast, video format. But a lot of the stuff that I like to have conversations with people. that's where I learned the most from conversations or trying, just getting in there and experiencing and trying things. Um, the only time I go to books, podcasts, or a direct curriculum or something to learn is when I have a problem. If I have a certain problem I'm learning how to encounter, I will look at books, chapters, or pieces in books or podcasts that talk about that situation because it's highly applicable and I can take action on it right then and there.
What are some of your favorite ones for books and podcasts?
Honestly, there's so like I said, I take like little pieces, but I like Hormozy, $100 million offers.
I think that's a very important one, both
Yeah.
offers and leads.
A couple of years back, I read "Sell or Be Sold." I love that concept by Grant Cardone. You're either always selling or you're being sold to. Like either someone's selling you on a no, or you're selling them on a yes. I love that concept. A couple other books, "Zero to One" by Peter Thiel, like OG books, like "The Laws of Power" and a couple other ones. But like I said, I usually go to books when I have some specific thing that I'm looking to get answered. And now we have online forums where it's other people and their experiences in one like place, and I leverage that a lot.
What are some of the most important skills in both life and business to have as an entrepreneur and a business owner?
I think sales. I think being a good salesperson, having the ability to sell, is probably one of the most important things you can have as a business owner. There is not a single situation where you go on, not a single day that goes on where you're not selling something. You're either selling someone that you're right for the job. You're selling a girl that, you're the right guy to go on the date with her. You're selling, there's a million use cases, but like you're selling someone on even like saying hi to you or continuing a conversation with you. Like, I think having the ability to be a good salesperson and sell yourself is the most important skill anyone can have.
Giving some advice to the younger generation of the audience, what is the main piece of advice you'd give to someone as far as it goes to being successful?
So much. And I was
Most likely your one main thing that you would say that is the most important thing that led to your success specifically.
if you got a dream, man, or if you think something's amazing, and it doesn't matter what anyone says, and you think it's amazing, and you think it's gonna work, and you think that it's something that people need, go for it. I don't think you can ever lose when that's how you feel, because you will walk away with lessons, experiences, people, relationships, things that you gain out of it that can be taken from you. And the biggest thing is you're not gonna regret not trying. All the businesses that failed, I don't regret. I very much learned a lot. But I knew when I started Backspace, if I didn't start Backspace right when I started Backspace, I would live my whole life wondering, what if? I know if there already hasn't been, there's going to be a couple unicorns, a couple $1 billion companies in that space. And I had to find out. And I gave it my shot. And if I didn't, I would have always wondered. So don't live in regret. Go for it. Shoot that shot. Give it a go.
So it's time for some quotes. I just want to know what you think about some of these and how they serve as a frame on how we should live life. Kobe Bryant once said, "I was chasing perfection and excellence even though I knew I would probably never catch it, but just the fact that I was willing to chase it, I would defeat most of my opponents because most of my opponents would never chase something that didn't have any guarantees attached to it."
I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting. I don't have anything to comment about it, but like I'm just thinking like, yeah, a lot of people will go for like the low hanging fruit. I can grab this, but very few people will like go here. It's like the idea of like if you shoot for the moon and you fail, you still hit the stars. But if you shoot for the stars and you fail, you're not touching the stars or the moon. Like if you have lofty goals, and then you have like a process on how you're gonna get there, your odds of success are a lot higher. But then again, you got to manage your expectations. You can't think you're a failure if you didn't hit the moon. You still hit the stars. So I agree. I like that. There's just a couple different versions of that quote.
It kind of goes into another quote. If everyone believes in your dreams, you're not dreaming big enough. Yeah. So dream so big, and that'll give you something higher to chase. Yeah. And even if you don't end up attaining that, you'll end up attaining something that.
But I think there's a balance. I think it's the most dangerous mindset to have right now as an entrepreneur is to be a very ambitious but lazy person. Because then you'll have crazy goals, but you're lazy, you're not willing to put in the work, and you get easily discouraged, and then you're just going to be depressed, like 24/7, like back to back. Because you have crazy goals, not willing to put the work in, and you're gonna get easily discouraged. And it's a pretty sad life. So there's a balance to it. I think you have crazy lofty goals, no problem. I think you set um, reasonable like metrics, like milestones to get to that goal. Like my goal, I think we can build PureBase into $1 billion company, a unicorn. But it's not like 0 to a billion. I'm like, no way. We have metrics. We started off first with let's do a pilot. Let's get 25, 30 people, then a couple hundred people, then let's get to 1,000. Then like, there's like little milestones that we at least feel like we're making progress as we go on day to day, month by month. If we were to measure our progress, how close we are from 0 to a billion, we'd be pretty sad every day on the way. Like you gotta celebrate the little small wins along the way.
So there's a quote from Alex Hermosi that goes, "Hard times are opportunities to give yourself proof that even this couldn't stop you." Do you think that going through a hard time is a good thing or a bad thing? Because Hermosi also says that they give you proof of what you are capable of for the future you.
Yeah.
What do you think about going through a hard time, and what's some advice that you would give someone that is struggling with something?
That's how you learn. When you shoot a shot and it goes straight in, you are not learning anything from that. Now, when you shoot a shot and it doesn't go in, you know how to correct. Like, you will learn more from the failures and the lessons than you will learn from it just getting lucky and it just working out one time. When you fail and you're struggling, it doesn't have to, you don't have to be struggling. When you fail and you're adjusting and trying different things, you understand why it worked when it worked. Meaning you can recreate it. You can do it over and over again. So I think it's so important. It's part of the process. Just enjoy it, and it's hard to, but just enjoy it. Like everybody's been through it.
So Iman Gaji is one of a really really big face in business right now. He said that if you get lucky at something, if you get lucky and you acquire a lot of money through luck, you're gonna get the person that actually puts in the hard work and fails and learns from their failure and actually learns how to get to that same amount of money is gonna go a lot farther in life because. And I think this was also in Rich Dad Poor Dad, where I think it was this basketball player that made a lot of money and then he just lost all of it after he retired because there's no such thing as easy money. You have to work for it, you have to fail, you have to learn the lessons, and that's how you can not only acquire the riches but also keep the riches for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I also think like there's another quote that people say like hard times. Well, I think it starts off with hard times create strong people. Because it's hard times. To survive, you have to be strong. They create strong people. Strong people create good times. Good times create weak people. And then weak people in return end up making hard times again. So it's like, yes, the people that will go through it know why. Like, we need people like that. Like, we will always. And you just can't look at it like a loss. You can't look at it like it's you got to look at it as a part of the process. And you will see over time it gets easier and easier and easier. And even me, like I was really discouraged when I couldn't raise any money. And then this time around when I was able to raise money so much easier and so fast, I was like, the process was worth it. Like if I would have just had like a rich family or a rich uncle or family friends and a handout and I raised money like $1 million or a couple $100,000 by asking like family friends, what would I have learned? You think those family friends, because we had an exit, like, yeah, they might have given us money again. But realistically, the market has changed so much now. Now it's harder to raise. Because I did it, like, I struggled through the first time, I was able to raise in a very difficult environment to raise. Like this. Because I had learned everything that didn't work. Because I tried everything. So yeah, very much so. Part of the process gets easier. Not only does it get easier, you just know more. So yeah, the more you know, the better.
This next one is one of my favorite quotes by Alex Hermosi. He says, "You don't get confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but rather by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt." What's the importance, do you think, of having that stack of undeniable proof for yourself to look at?
I mean, with that quote, like, I get it, but I don't know. Like, the way I feel is I think everything starts off with a thought, an idea, a dream, a vision. I think, yes, actually, like, screaming at yourself in the mirror, like, quite literally, like, putting it out into the world could be a starting point. But yeah, you're right. It's not going to get you successful. You put it out into the world and you follow that up with action. So I think action is undeniable proof. I could say, I want to be swole, man. I want to be cut. I'm going to look good. But if I don't go to the gym, it's not going to happen. But if I say that and I use that as a fuel to be like, yes, I'm gonna be all these things as soon as I step foot in the gym. And then I step foot in the gym, I have my undeniable proof. I'm doing what I can.
So, what does a day in your life look like as a business owner?
Yeah, so I'm running a startup. So usually it consists of a couple things. One, putting out fires. As a CEO, like you're a lot of times putting out fires, and that's the core of your role. Making sure you're providing the right resources and things that people need when it comes down to um, like the resources your team needs to operate and do their best. Uh, Also bringing on A players and amazing people to complement our team so we can continue crushing. Um, and then fundraising. Fundraising is a very big part. It's building the story and kind of putting the story of what you're building, why it's important, why it's relevant, why it's going to help people, why it's going to make money. That's a lot of my job is that story, and getting people involved in the story, whether it's employees, team members, partners, investors. That's a lot of what I do.
What is next for you and for Peer Base?
Um, well, we are going hardcore. We're going to scale now. We're hiring a whole bunch of people. We're bringing on some new roles in terms of CMO, operations, salespeople, new coaches. We got a lot going on as we continue scaling. We're also going to be raising another round here soon, to bring in some additional capital to kind of fuel our growth and put gasoline on it. So that's exciting.
And where can everyone online find you to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on my Instagram at Faiz Imran, FaizImran. And when it comes to the company, at Join Peerbase. And from those like social handles, you can find my website, my other companies, or the company's website, and all that. JoinPeerbase.com is our site as well. So I think that's good. Yeah.
Faiz, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there any last piece of advice that you'd like to give the audience?
No, and thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a cool conversation. If there's anything else like that, I think people should walk away with is just don't let somebody else tell you something's not possible because they couldn't do it themselves. Like if someone hasn't done something, don't let them tell you you can't do it, and just keep going, keep chugging on along. Like keep trying things, keep failing, and eventually you're gonna hit, and throughout that you're gonna be learning through the process.